Welcome once again, friends, to another episode of Working with Gen Z. Friends, we've explored many dimensions of the Gen Z generation, and there is one which is increasingly becoming very, very important around the world, not just for the Gen Z generation, but perhaps all generations. And even every corporate today is really, really thinking and working hard towards it. And I am referring now to really climate, environment, and sustainability. This is a point which is deeply of concern, perhaps, and also of passion for that young generation. For the other generations, perhaps we've always read about a crisis, or we've always thought that there could be a looming crisis that's coming. But if you think about the Gen Z generation, they're quite experiencing perhaps the changes that we're all seeing in the environment and the climate. Therefore, what can companies do, and how do companies actually take their steps towards sustainability and make it known to the Gen Z generation? And to that extent, I have an expert for us who will share with us what companies are doing, why sustainability is becoming more and more important, as well as what does it mean for the Gen Z generation. And to that, I want to welcome our guest, Dr. Rajeshwar Walte. And before I introduce and welcome him again, I want to read his very rich background that he comes. Dr. Rajeshwar Walte is based currently in Bangalore, and he leads the Innovation and Technology Center at Veolia that executes the R&D program for global projects in water, wastewater, process application and technology center, which also very closely works with sales, marketing processes, commissioning teams, providing solutions for local and South Asia projects. To give you a little bit more about his rich background, he comes with more than 15 plus years of experience in technology, with expertise in membrane applications, process separation solutions, water and wastewater treatment technology, along with water wastewater technology. He's also wide experience in process separation applications, taking new ideas from concept to commercialization, developing commercialization membrane-based solutions for different industry sectors such as pharma, biotech, herbal, chemical, agro, dairy, food, textile, energy, and so on. It's a long list, and delighted to have him, Dr. Rajeshwar. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, very good morning, Nikhil, and thanks for the wonderful introduction. You've covered almost all things. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Dr. Rajeshwar, when we welcome our guests, we also ask and say that, okay, while I've read your bio, anything else you would like to share, perhaps either at your role currently? Obviously, I'm going to ask a lot of questions on climate, environment, sustainability. But anything else would you like to share from your experience, or anything else that our viewers can know or you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think, you covered almost all things, Nikhil. See, the water sustainability is important. And I think the more important for this young generation to understand the limited water availability, the water crisis, and the gap. I think this is something I think should excite young generation. And I hope they take it on ahead and take some takeaway from our this dialogue, I would say. That's
okay. Excellent. So let's get to it, sir. I want to start with a very kind of a broad, open questions. Today, every news article that we perhaps read or we watch on TV or you read any literature, sustainability and environment has really become a mainstream item for everybody. It is not just something that you're required to do, but there is a real danger, it seems. And so my question, perhaps just to begin with, why is sustainability, with all your experience that you have in so many industries and from water to other parts of the entire chain, why is sustainability becoming so important for the corporate world and for all of us as citizens? And why do you sense that this is even more important for the young Gen Z generation?
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. It's a great question to start with. Yes, sustainability is very important. The reason is sustainability improves our life, protects our ecosystem, and preserves our natural resources for the future generation. Mm-hmm. Now, fundamentally, sustainability is made up of three pillars. It is economy, society, and environment. So let us take third pillar as an environment, and in that, talk about water sustainability as a topic, as it also connects to what we are doing at Veolia today in the space of water. So as you rightly started up, today the climatic conditions is becoming worse and is resulting into the dry land, dry trees, and it is making difficult for access of clean and safe drinking water day by day. Number says around 2 billion people globally don't have access to this safe drinking water. And this is affecting our livelihood, damaging food security as well as health. Now, it's important to understand that why we need this water. So there are three basic needs. I'm sure we all know. We need water for drinking, we need water for industry, and we need water for agriculture. And amongst this, agriculture consumes major of the water. Around 70% of world's water is consumed by agriculture, and the demand is expected to increase by a factor of 50% in coming 20 to 25 years. Now, understanding the climatic condition, the usage of water, it's also important our young generation understands availability of the water. So when we look at availability of water on the earth, 97% of the water is seawater, which is saline water, very high TDS water. We cannot drink it, right, without it. Then 2% of water is frozen in form of ice. And just 1% of water is available for all the needs we want to use it for. And with increasing population day by day, this gap between the supply and demand of water is narrowing day by day. That's why this is becoming one of the global problem to address, in coming years down the line.
Yeah.
Now, coming down to your next question, Nikhil, like why it's important for generations ahead is, I think, the first point, what comes to my mind is awareness. The young generation are our future generation. They should be aware of this limited resources of water crisis and this gap. And this generation should focus on 3R concept. What is this 3R concepts? We need to understand the availability of water and think on the 3R concept, that is reduce, recover, recycle. And the generation should focus on moving from linear to circular economy. This is what also the mission of Vivolia, what we are doing. And the last point I would like to highlight here is, this being a global problem, there is a huge opportunity. I think the young generation should also think this as a career option. In future, when they select this as a career option, they can think on what are the new technologies, new solutions they can bring up in addressing these challenges.
Sure. So one thing I wanted to ask Dr. Rajeshwar, which is perhaps when you so thank you. I think that you explained it beautifully of how much of the total water resource, if you think about it, the earth has, but how much is actually usable. One question, perhaps that may come to people's mind, and there is often a misconception, perhaps you can help us to understand, which is that the earth is made up of close to 75% of water. Like there's so much ocean around us, so why should we worry that there will ever be a water shortage, right? Can't we use that water? So what is the concern there, or why would you say that we should not look at it worrying that, okay, or being relaxed about the fact that so much water is available and therefore let's waste water, or therefore let's not think that there is some kind of a crisis? So can you help to understand, because
yes, this is very interesting question and important to understand. See, I mean, water availability shows we have 97% of water. Then why are we worried about the water crisis? We have huge amount of water. Okay, and why are we thinking that we should use other sources of water when we have 97% of water available in the earth? See, it's important here to understand is, although 97% of water is seawater, it is highly saline. It's highly saline. You have 40,000 of TDS. It is not suitable for drinking, first upon the point. Now, are there technologies available to make it suitable for drinking or industrial use or agriculture use? The answer is yes. But there are challenges. There are two major challenges. The treatment cost of seawater is very, very expensive. If you consider treating a lake water or river water, it is much, much cheaper. And if you think of treating, because there you are handling 500 TDS, 1000 TDS water, not more than that. You're talking of 35, 40,000 TDS. So you need very high energy, you need very high power cost, because of which the treatment cost of this water is very high, and not all countries can afford it. So the countries where Middle East, where the fuel cost is less, energy cost is less, for them the scenario is different, but for everybody this cost is very high. This is the one challenge. The next important challenge is when you treat seawater, I mean by desalination technology, it could be a thermal solution, it could be RO solution. The issue is, if you are treating 10 million liters of water, for example, you will have just half of that 5 million liters of water as good quality water, and half of the water, 5 million liters, is waste, which is very high TDS, high brine containing water. Now, when you discharge this back to sea, it may affect your marine life.
Okay.
So the problem is there, but yes, there are the opportunities. What are the opportunities to solve this problem? Suppose problem one is the high OPEX, high power, high energy. It's costlier affair for desalination. So can we look for greener energy, greener technology? Some people are thinking to use solar as an energy to reduce the power cost, and doing that, then you will be making this water cheaper, like we treat surface water, like we treat lake water, the cost will come. Other thing is this waste which generates after this desalination technology, which is a high TDS, high brine containing. It's a high saline solution, but it can be used for cultivation of certain things like seaweeds needs high salinity. So it can be used to grow seaweeds, make products from that. Another opportunities is, you can use this as a source for mining. So this is what, yeah.
Right. No, so I think that's very helpful, because I think a lot of people have just this misconception that yes, plenty is available, not realizing how the seawater, and very interestingly, as you mentioned, that even if you were to use desalination, of course, it's very expensive. And if you use the unused back into the water itself or back to the sea, it can affect the marine life, which I think they're very, didn't realize about that. Versus also, if you think about a small lake or a river water, is much easier or less intensive. Excellent. So let's talk about, Dr. Rajesh, what about, nowadays, of course, we spoke at the beginning, sustainability is becoming a big thing. And you worked over your career with, many people, you've led teams and so on. Now, when you think about the Gen Z generation, right, how can companies use, their work in the sustainability space as some type of a value proposition, right? Where do we attract them, right? Because it seems like one mandate could be that, I have to do it because I'm in a certain geography. The rules say I have to do a certain amount for the environment, and I do it. But then there are obviously stories where companies are deeply passionate about the environment, and therefore, they go beyond. And I think it is fair to say that the Gen Z generation, and I can say that from my own experience, with two Gen Z boys, that they're always careful about if you go out and if you are always either throwing something, or they always see, or maybe when they're experiencing extreme hot summer, they're saying it's all because of what your generation did. So how can companies use the work in sustainability space as a way to attract, let's say, this young talent? And maybe if you have a story or two from your experience as to what has been done, therefore maybe sharing a story or two can actually make an impact for them.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Nikhil. See, coming down to what different companies do in the space of water treatment, yes, there are several companies working in the space of water and wastewater treatment technologies and solutions. And I must highlight that, Veolia is world's leader, not only for the water treatment solutions, but also wastewater treatment technologies. Now, what companies do in the space of water is also function of the source of water. So meaning that different source of water will have different solutions or different technologies to treat it. So what are the different sources of water we are talking here, where the different companies are offering solutions and systems today in market and working on these lines are, these different sources of water are like surface water, it could be lake or river water, it could be a sewage water, it could be a wastewater from industries, or it could also be a seawater like we talked about desalination. Now, the solutions, what companies do, suppose, let me give you some example. Treating surface water is different than treating a wastewater from sewage or wastewater from industry. So surface water is a clean water. You just need clarification and you just need to reduce the TDS and you need to sanitize it. So solutions offered by companies are like UF, that is ultrafiltration, and RO. When it comes to sewage water, you have some organics, you have some waste, which needs to be digested, which needs to be reduced, because of which biology, MBR technology comes into the picture. And then if you want to recycle that, RO also comes into the picture. Now, coming down to the third case, when we're talking of industrial wastewater, it is more complex. So different industries, like, the wastewater coming from textile will be different. The wastewater coming from dairy will be different. Wastewater coming from pharma will be different. So what industries do is it's important to characterize this water, like, and then decide on what are the solutions to be given for the particular problem. So now when it comes to wastewater, the typically solutions are primary, secondary, and then tertiary treatment going to ZLD. Like, you have to remove organics, you have to remove inorganics, and then you have to go to a complete zero liquid discharge. You need at the end membranes and evaporators when you go to tertiary. Now, it's important to understand that, each industry needs water or will handle water in all three different stages. When you're making the product, is you need water, so you need a solution to treat bad water to good water to make your products. And also at the end, when your processing is done, you manufacture your products, you generate a effluent, so you're also handling a water. So at each part, there are solutions, and we only offer solutions at each of these segments, right from the source of water, treating it to make it suitable for manufacturing processes, making your products, and finally, when you have manufactured the product, you will have effluent. We have solutions to treat the effluent. Now, let me give you examples of a few stories around this, or maybe case studies where we have used these concepts and solved the problems of industries. So first case I would like to highlight is RCF, that is Rashtriya Chemical Fertilizers Limited in Mumbai, which needs huge amount of water, almost 22 MLD, 20 million liters per day of water is required for their processing, for the utilities like boiler and cooling tower. The one way is to use fresh water, treat it, and make it an industrial grade water. What we did is we thought of converting waste to a resource. We used sewage water, we treated sewage water and made it to industrial grade water of a volume around 20 million liters per day, which is used by RCF. Now, doing that, we are saving freshwater intake and benefiting around 30,000 families in Mumbai. So this is how, if we have taken all this intake water as a fresh water, it won't have benefited so much of families. Another example I would like to give is of the township Loda, Mumbai. So township needs huge water, for primary drinking or for the secondary purpose. So what we did is we used the sewage water, we treated it, and then we used it for secondary purpose like gardening, golf, and cleaning, because of which the dependency on fresh water has come down by a factor of 50%. And doing that, we have multiple decentralized STPs with our ZVD MBR technologies ranging from a capacity of 2 MLD to 6 MLD. Around 9 plants are running today.
Right. Wow. So this is where I really liked, of course, two very powerful, impactful stories of how, before even the stories, I liked how you explained that irrespective of, what industry you are in, water is such a key essential source. So if you're in pharma, your waste has one way of treating it. If you're in dairy, your waste has another way of treating it. And every company should think about it, or every company, ideally, if they are sustainably conscious, then they will probably take the trouble, as you were explaining technically, right, how that is done. So that's one part, because that means that there is an opportunity for every company to do something. It doesn't have to be that you're in that, the waste management business, or there is an opportunity available for just about every business. But I really like the two stories where you're actually, and these are the kind of stories perhaps that attract the younger generation, right? Where you see that, you look at a township where most of us we can relate to, living in a township or living in a neighborhood where the amount of consumption of the water that's there, or even as you quoted, the chemical industry or the chemical company, where how you use that and recycle, and what a drain that can be. But if you do it correctly, what was the benefit against that? So two very powerful stories, and I think these are excellent, where these are the kind of stories that perhaps the younger generation can both feel a little more aware, but then also feel attracted towards working for a company who's doing good beyond what their core business is. So the question then becomes, Dr. Rajeshwar, of course, is that our focus is the Gen Z generation. Let us say that you're a company, I mean, in your case, you've cited really good examples with the work that you're doing at Veolia, and of course you've done similar work in other industries. But let us say I'm in a business where perhaps sustainability doesn't immediately come to my fore, or I do and I do it maybe the bare minimum, right? So if I'm a young generation or a young Gen Z generation joining a company, right, what are the ways that I can get involved? Like, let's say I'm a manager and I have a young person who is quite passionate about, I just want to make some impact in my own little way. So are there some initiatives that you are aware of, or perhaps some simple things that like a company can think about, where you get them involved, and that's probably a best way to make them feel that, look, we are sensitive to one of your areas that you're keen.
Oh yes. So it's important that we identify the passionate young generation, and we see how we can involve them in some of the programs. And as you ask, I would like to highlight, some initiatives. Veolia as a global MNC, global urbanization in the space of water and wastewater treatment technologies. What we do is we run two programs. They're called as GET, Graduate Engineering Training. Another one is PGET, Postgraduate Engineering Training. So what we do is we go to institute, colleges, and identify those passionate young generations who are passionate about sustainability, who are passionate about water treatment technologies, and we recruit them as a GET or PGET. So if he's completing his engineering bachelor's, or he could be completing his MTech or MSc from different institutions and organizations, we get them, and then we have a free rotational program. So what this means is we give them an opportunity for 3 rotations, 6 months of each, to get exposed to what we are doing in the space of water in our different internal departments. Like, one could be the R&D and technology, another could be a marketing, another third could be a design, the fourth could be a proposal department. So making them understand, how today as an industry, as a Veolia, we are working in these different departments, which is under the umbrella of water treatment solutions, getting them exposed to these solutions. And then finally, after the 3 rotations, based on their interest and review, we identify and we absorb them into one of the streams. So we give them the opportunities to start as a trainee, do 3 rotations, and finally they come on board and they join Veolia. So this is something I think what we have been doing.
Fantastic. No, this is great, because I think your story demonstrates not just the fact that you're looking for young talent, but really in a way finding talent who is also passionate about the environment, right? And water as a resource. Like most of them are perhaps not as aware, and you give them the exposure, right? And so maybe at the end of this 18 months or 2 years, right? If nothing, I'm sure like, everybody opts for something or the other, but if nothing, at least they walk away knowing so much more about all the different aspects of water and the challenges and the opportunities, and therefore it's a good way, and it's a great way to without any strings attached, they can come, they can learn, and then of course if they are staying, that perhaps further validates the fact that they are keen to make an impact, right? It's not just another job, but a job which makes a difference to the environment, to the earth. Excellent. So one final question, Dr. Rajeshwar, is that if you think about companies today are expected to do something or the other depending upon where you are and what business you are in and what's your reputation and what's your own belief and all of that. If you had to give some basic tips of just from the company's perspective, right? Let's just say, even if I'm a small company, a small entrepreneur, or let's say a mid-sized company where I don't have a CSR team, or I don't have a big machinery who can go out and kind of tell what I have done, but what can be some basic things that even all of us, from a small entrepreneur to the large company like Veolia, what can they do from a sustainability perspective? That's number one. And the second one, perhaps equally important or more important, would be that if you are a young generation watching this show, right? What tips are you going to advise to them, that what can they do, right? I mean, it is important, or if we say that if they are expecting the firms and the citizens to do their part, what is their own part, right? In other words, how can they play their own part to make the earth more safer and the environment? So we come to that. So first part on the company, second on the Generation Z.
Sure. So see, either company is small or company is big. I think that's not important. What is important for smaller, middle size or bigger companies is to practice this sustainability. I think there are two approaches to do that. One is each of these companies should focus and drive the 3R concept: reduce, recover, and recycle. All the resources we should focus on that. Next thing what comes to my mind is each of these companies should focus on and drive to move from linear to circular economy. Now, what is linear? What do I mean by that?
Yeah, can you please explain? Yes.
Yeah. See, when you say linear economy, we have a lot of resources in the world. It could be air, it could be water. So what we are doing is we take those resources. Suppose we take water, industry uses water for their manufacturing, make products, and finally there is a waste, which is also water. This is a linear economy where we are not recovering the waste, we are not giving back to the environment. Right. What circular economy says, industries should take the resource, take the water, make their products, and then whatever is the waste, don't keep it as a waste, recover the waste, recycle the waste. That is what each company should focus on, the circular economy. This is the mission of Veolia. Veolia is resourcing the world, because that is how we look at the things. That is how we, plan and drive the things around. Now, on these lines, let me give you a couple of examples of how this sustainability practice is implemented by Veolia.
Sure.
Let's say at our plant at Hoskote, I'm sitting here, at Bangalore side. Mm-hmm. So one of the projects we did 3 years back is rain harvesting project.
Okay.
See, we at this site are consuming around 12 million liters of water each year. Okay. And after we implemented the rainwater harvesting project in 2021, we are able to save 45% of fresh water requirement. So around 5.5 million liters of water is coming from the rainwater harvesting.
Excellent.
The beauty of this is typical process, you get the fresh water from tankers, it's of high TDS. The rainwater being of low TDS, I mean, we're comparing 1,000 versus 100, you need less energy and you're able to recover more water. So this is something which we have done and implemented, and we are also planning to expand this by a factor of 2x, to use more and more of this rainwater for our utilization. Other thing which I would like to highlight is, solar power plant project we did. At our same site of Uskute, we need around 570 megawatt of power each year. We have installed a solar plant of 50 kVA, that is 50 kilowatt ampere, that gives us 76 megawatt of power, which is around 15% of our total power. And we are planning to double it, so make it to a factor of 30%, so that we are dependent more on natural source, greener energy, instead of the conventional load. Now, what it helps, going for the solar power, there is less consumption of coal, there is less greenhouse gas emission, there is less impact on global warming. So to give you a number, by doing this thing, we are able to achieve a greenhouse gas emission by a factor of around 570 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. The third simple thing we did is, in terms of boiler, we need, okay, let's move to natural gas instead of diesel for boiler. This is also, helping to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 23 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. So these are Nikhil, these are some simple practice which we have implemented at our site. There is a capex, yes, there is a capex, but there is also ROI. If you see ROI, what we found is typically 3 or 3.5 years versus projects. So these are this initiative, irrespective of you are a small company, middle-sized company, bigger company. I think based on your capacity, somewhere we have to take the initiative and move towards the circular economy.
Yeah.
But now going.
Yeah, no, I really like, sorry, just to, I think you're an excellent point. First, to help people understand the linear versus circular. I think most of us probably in our day-to-day life carry the mindset, I have used it, I take it from what I need in the earth and I forget about it. So I think everybody can develop this mindset of, can I bring it back into the system, right? Circular, as you say. And I really like, in a country like India, where we have so many pockets where so much rain comes, right? How do we use that water? We have so much sun in perhaps most part of the country, right? How do we use that to generate energy? And some of these could be, capex intensive, but at the end of the day, as you explained that, it becomes on the positive over a period of time, right? But and also you're doing the justice to the sustainability that we talked about. Excellent. So yeah, please, I'd be keen to know what can our young Gen Z generation do. Some simple tips, right? I mean, if they expect others to play their part, how can we kind of give some tips that what can they do?
Oh yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, see, sustainability do's and don'ts by our young generation. I think there are simple things we can implement in our daily lives. I agree with you. So one of the things is, I think our generation should think twice before we do shopping. See, every product we purchase has got an environmental footprint, right from its production, the product we consume, and finally the waste which is generated, it goes to either treatment or it goes to either landfill. So being cautious on this side, thinking twice before we purchase is some simple thing we can do. Second thing, I think this young generation should drive the 3R concept. Understanding the sustainability importance, how can we reduce, how can we recover, and how can we recycle the resource we have today given by environment. One of the example is, like if you say water, See, young generation can easily avoid a fast fashion. Today, the fast fashion is there. Fast fashion, changing clothes quite often. See, going back to, it's important to understand, this clothes come from where? They come from textile. Do you know each textile industry uses 5 or 6 million liters of water per day?
My goodness.
The huge amount of water required in the textile processes, and then the effluent is generated, and then you need the technologies and all that. So these are some small things. If you can be cautious about your fashion, somewhere you will be saving water consumption also. The third thing is, waste management. Segregate the waste. What Viola is also doing. See, each waste we have today can be of two types. It can be degradable, it can be non-degradable. So a degradable waste means what? What is the household waste, the domestic waste, which comes from your house, which comes from your hospitals, which comes from complexes, are degradable. So don't treat it as a waste, but think of technologies where you can make energies from waste. Like you can treat what Viola is doing, converting waste to biogas, energy source. Other thing is, when you segregate the degradable waste and non-degradable waste, the non-degradable waste can be something like plastic. It can be metals, which can be recycled back.
Right.
So we are doing that, segregating the waste and adding value by recycling it or converting it to the energy. Another message I would like to give, Nikhil, to this young generation is drive less and drive green. So drive green meaning what? We know that the fuels are limited; they're going to limit it, and we should think of the electric vehicle, future vehicle. At Veolia, we are really encouraging this. The thing is, because electric vehicle needs lithium, and we are working on technologies in the space of mining to extract, purify lithium by our products. So we doing that, moving from the conventional fuel vehicle to the electric vehicle, we are also helping our climatic condition to improve. We are reducing fuel dependency, and we are also reducing the greenhouse gas emission. These are some of the important things why we should drive green or drive less. The other measures could be go green. Plantation is important. When it comes to global warming, the more trees you plant, you are adding value to the environment. This is what we implement at Viola. Every senior leaders from India or global, when they visit our plant, we have a plantation practice.
Excellent.
We have a message given there. And lastly, I would say the young generation should focus on renewable energy. That is the future. So think on how can we convert waste to energy. You can convert waste to biogas. You can convert waste to other form of energies. Then there's another waste, which is agricultural waste. Huge agricultural waste are available today everywhere. So there are technologies to convert this waste into biofuel. Biofuel is bioethanol it could be generated from two sources. It could be generated from agricultural waste, which is called as lignocellulosic biomass. There are technologies available to treat it and make bioethanol from that. Another technologies are you can also convert the waste gas and ferment it to biofuel, bioethanol. The mandates are coming up by government. You blend 5 or 10%, and that's why the converting the waste gas or waste solid from agriculture or waste gas from refinery to bioethanol is becoming important, and you will see around world, people are working on a lot of these technologies. And third thing is also solar energy. We already discussed about that. So that's it, Nikhil. Yeah.
Well, these are absolutely invaluable. I think every single one of us can use those tips, and these are simple enough. You don't really have to be an expert or be a scientist or a technologist like you, where you know so much more about how you can improvise and be sustainable. But I really like as simple as when you think about shopping habits, when you think about driving habits, when you think about consuming power or energy, right? What are the ways in which we can think about it? When you think about creating the 3R concept. So all excellent tips. I think to me, these 4 or 5 are invaluable for all of us, and I hopefully every single Gen Z generation who is deeply passionate is also, listening and implementing at least some or all of it, right? Final question, Dr. Rajeshwar, any other comments or any other resources, perhaps where people can read more about sustainability? Obviously, I would like and perhaps recommend that they see the work that Veolia is doing, because in the water space, clearly you've done a lot of work, and in the waste management business. But anywhere else, any other open source or any general reading or
Yeah, I think it's very simple. Go with basics and go on the Google reading. A lot of information is
sure.
available. A lot of YouTube's videos are there. We have uploaded, and how do you treat water and wastewater and energy related issues. So this is readily available.
Yeah, excellent. Well, this has been one great episode, Dr. Rajeshwar. I really appreciate you enlightening us on. We've looked at one small aspect, which is just such a precious source of water and its role in sustainability. But you also helped us to look at sustainability more broadly, why it's important to companies, what can companies do to share their stories, what the company's perspective should be, and really importantly, what the Gen Z community or the Gen Z generation can also think about. And I truly hope that every single one of our viewers is listening and learning more about how do we owe ourselves to protect Mother Earth, protect environment, make the climate more conducive. It's not just important for the current generation, but certainly the future generation. Thank you once again, Dr. Rajeshwar. It's been a pleasure and it's been an excellent episode. And I look forward to meeting you very soon in Bangalore in my next visit.
Sure, Nikhil. Thanks for giving this opportunity and connecting on this front. And
Take care.
welcome.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.